What is up, Star Wars fans? This is Darth Watts, and in this video, we have an update for the Hunt for Ben Solo Star Wars movie that was scrapped by Disney and Lucasfilm. And the reason why it was scrapped is because Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy didn't want to buy this idea of a Star Wars film that takes place after Episode 9 that would have shown Ben Solo being brought back and in a way, Ben Solo's death at the end of The Rise of Skywalker does make sense, since he was the last Skywalker by blood, and he wasn't truly redeemed of his actions, but he was redeemed as a character, and there's a difference right there. So even if Ben Solo was to survive, the galaxy would not forgive him for all of the stuff that he has done. And the same thing with Vader too. And that's the reason why Anakin Skywalker dies at the end of Return of the Jedi after his son Luke Skywalker turned him back to the light. The galaxy would not forgive him for what he's done, but he turned back to the light and then he died at the very end of Return of the Jedi. So Ben Solo's death in a way does kind of make sense because the galaxy would not forgive him and they would be out to get him, and there's still consequences for Ben Solo's actions even though he has turned back to the light. So his death does kind of make sense, but and that's the reason why I can see why Disney and Lucasfilm canceled the Star Wars film that would have revived Ben Solo. But there's a lot of Star Wars fans praising this idea uh, and campaigning for this idea to happen. And Daisy Ridley praises Star Wars fans, according to Variety, about protesting that this Star Wars film needs to happen. Now, I'm not saying that it isn't going to happen by any means at all. Like, it could happen. That is a possibility, and I can see how that could possibly happen with the Hunt for Ben Solo movie that shows Ben Solo's survival. But an even better idea if they were to do something with the sequel trilogy in a similar way that they did with the original trilogy with the special editions, where they re-release them, but this time with extra featured scenes, and uh, that scene could be an idea from the Hunt for Ben Solo movie, but it would show Ben Solo's survival in the Rise of Skywalker, and there would be added scenes in the sequel trilogy, just like they did with the 1997 special edition original trilogy. That could be a possibility in the future, and that's an idea that I thought of if they were to bring Ben Solo back to life. But as far the way I see it, I can see this as a possibility of happening, but as far as it making sense, I would have to say that Ben Solo's death at the end of the Rise of Skywalker makes the most sense to me because of his actions. He has to die at the end of the Rise of Skywalker, and he's not truly redeemed from his actions, and the entire galaxy would not forgive him for what he has done when he turned to the dark side. He's destroyed Hosnian Prime. He's killed his father, Han Solo. And because of his actions, he can never be redeemed from that. But he is redeemed as a character right before he died. So, and plus, he was the last Skywalker by blood, and it was time for the Skywalker saga to end at Star Wars Episode 9. And George Lucas envisioned his Star Wars saga to be 9 films. That was the original plan all along. That is no secret. That is widely known that George Lucas had originally planned 9 Star Wars films from the very beginning. So they kept it to George Lucas's wishes, and since he was the last Skywalker, since uh, he can never be redeemed from his actions, it makes the most sense for Ben Solo to die at the end of the Rise of Skywalker. Now, if this film does happen, it happens, and I'll end up watching it when it comes out. But and there's a good chance that maybe this film could happen where Ben Solo does get brought back to life, but right now, I think his death is appropriate for the ending of the Skywalker saga since he's the last Skywalker. He turned back to the light and he was redeemed as a character, but not redeemed of his actions. I think his death was the appropriate approach to end the Skywalker saga. And Rey is not a Skywalker by blood, but she takes the last name Skywalker, rejecting the Palpatine name that the fact that she's Palpatine's granddaughter. But anyways, that's all I have to say for this video. Do make sure to smash a like, subscribe, comment, and I will catch you all later in another video.